Yeah, everyone's like, do you miss it? I'm like, have you been there lately? Like,
Yeah, it's like people. I don't understand. Like Swedish people are like, "Wow, you're from America. Why don't you like,
why would you come here?
Why would you come here?" And then we're like, "We're from America. Why would we leave?"
From the Scandinavian forests up north to the sandy dunes of the Gerlach Empire, one origin story, one burner at the time. This is Burner Profiles. In this episode, we visit Annie-Locke. She's the tech wizard from the States that can make anything the biggest pieces of art you could imagine. We sat down at Blivanda, Stockholm's burner hub, and had a chat.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to Burner Profiles. I am
Happy
Juan.
to be here.
Yes. And this is Annie-Locke.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a quick introduction, Annie-Locke. Who are you?
Let's see, who am I? It's essential. I'm American, quote, refugee, ran away to Sweden, was aiming for London, hit Germany, and then ended up here. Fellow creative and creative compulsive disorder, I think, is a good way of describing it. So always making things.
Always making things. Why are you always making things?
Because it's fun. I mean, who doesn't want to make stuff?
Yeah,
It's like when you look at things and you go, I can make that. And then you end up down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and you've made quite a few amazing things.
I made some stuff.
I would say some stuff is a cosmic understatement.
Like I said, I like making things.
Yeah, can you give us a little insight onto some of the stuff that You're actually on the way to making something right now, aren't you?
So I'm going to Africa Burn, but it's not a specific project. The camp is called the Art Sluts, and that is, as it sounds, you slut about and jump on any art project that needs help. And so you don't have to stay with the same build throughout the entire process. So it kind of gives you a way of like a sampling little smorgasbord of, ooh, let's try that. Ooh, let's try that.
You're a Africa Burn building freelance
Exactly.
slut.
Freelance slut, yes.
Freelance slut.
That's where I like in the corner where it's like Annie-Locke share, freelance slut.
Fantastic. Can you give us a little bit more insight on what Africa Burn is?
I've never been, so I will let you know when I come back.
Africa Burn is a regional burn, right?
Yes. Africa Burn is, for people who aren't familiar with burns, it's about 10,000 people, I believe. Again, haven't been, so if I'm incorrect, I apologize. But yeah, it's a couple hours outside of Cape Town. And so they also have recently purchased their own land, so I heard. So I'm curious to see how it is compared to Borderland, because as far as I'm aware, Borderland and Africa Burn are the only regionals that have our own land.
Right.
So I'm not sure though.
So Annie-Locke, what's your civilian role here in Sweden?
In Sweden, I'm an architect, so I actually came here to do my PhD. So.
Okay.
And I decided I liked it. It was originally a 2-year program, which is the licentiate, which is like the first 2 years of a PhD in Sweden. And I liked it so much, I applied for more funding so I could do a PhD. And so I always say I wrote a book to stay in the country.
Wow.
Which is true.
Amazing. Okay, so what were you doing before you came to Sweden?
I was doing my master's at Michigan, and I was looking to do another year. I didn't like how my thesis turned out, so I wanted to do like another master's, like just the last thesis bit. And so I had applied for a couple different places, and I thought I was going to UCLA. And when I was traveling around Thailand the summer before, I had this epiphany of I really should go to the Stuttgart program that I applied to. So I called Stuttgart. I said, by the way, I know I said no, but I now realize that was wrong. Can I still go? And they shockingly said yes. So then Stuttgart programs, school in Germany starts much later anyways. It's like October is the fall semester. And so I had all this time to kill because like in the States, it starts in August. So I was just hanging around being a a bum in my mom's house for a couple months going, it's not long enough to start working. You know, what should I do? And my friend called me and said, we're in Santa Barbara. We're building this thing for this structure for a thing called Burning Man. And I was like, oh, I've heard of that. It's a bunch of hippies running around naked in the desert, you know, something like that. And they said, do you want to come help build it? And I went, I'm literally not doing anything. So I was like, sure, why not? And I show up and it was a build crew of 8 guys. And the guy who had done he was the build lead or the person organizing everything.
Right.
His playa name is called No Plans But Dreams. And that is very indicative, I think, of how things were going. We went to grad school together, and he did his master's thesis designing a structure for Burning Man. So I figured, thesis, you know, that's going to be very well developed and like proper plans. And he had 3D modeled 4x4s like phasing through each other in the computer. And I was like, you know, gravity is a thing, you know, joints, structures, all of these. And he had not thought about any of it. And so I basically said, I'm like, give me the laptop. I will fix this. Like, quit helping. So I basically...
You helping is not helping.
I know. I was like, you go over there, you go rent a car so we can get all this material. And so I sat in the middle of like one of the aisles in Home Depot with a computer, and there was bossing around all the 8 guys of, I need this many bolts and this many da-da-da. And like they would come back and say, okay, what's the next thing on the list?
Right.
And so that's how I got sucked into at least building, because originally it was just going to be, I'm going to help for a day or two, and, you know, because why not? I'm bored. And then I ended up accidentally taking over the project just because I was concerned for people's safety. Because I was like, if I don't help with this, people are going to die. Is this not okay?
Isn't that how it goes for like every lead that goes into a burn? It's like,
you're just like,
okay, I'll help for a little bit, and then you essentially become this.
And you're like, this is mine now.
Yeah, this is mine now. You don't die. This is mine now.
Well, and No Plans. I mean, bless his soul. So he's a lovely human. He's just not a build lead, and that's fine. He's really good at putting people together, though, and kind of orchestrating. I know I should pair this person with this person, and so that's very helpful. And we need someone like that.
What did you end up actually building in the end?
It looked kind of like a bunch of Tetris pieces. It was like all of these blocks that some went higher and lower and sticking out, and we had laced a bunch of fire hose. Just old fire hoses that made like a puddle shade space. Right. So it's kind of like a really big hammock.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a big tower.
Nice. And then that led you to going to more burns.
Yes, so that was my first burn. Then I went to Stuttgart. Stuttgart didn't really have a burner community there. I mean, I had met people that had been to Burning Man, but
and that's like an architect school in Germany.
Yeah.
Okay.
University of Stuttgart.
Yeah.
It's specializing in kind of the nerdy architecture stuff that I do, like parametric design. But then when I was in Stuttgart, I was still looking for more burns, and I had gone to Fusion because someone told me that was the German Burning Man, which, and I kind of got there and I went, this is not, you know, I was like, it's a festival and it has art, which is cool, but you're also dancing around a lot of piles of trash, and I was like, this is not Burning Man. So I had that itch of I was looking for something like Burning Man, but didn't even really know there was regionals at that point. And of course now I know there's Burning Bear. I was like, there actually is a German burn. It's just not that. But oh well. And then I moved to Sweden, and then I knew it was the weekend of the first urban burn, and I couldn't go because I was literally moving. But I had messaged a bunch of the organizers, and I had said like, hey, I'm a burner, you know, I want to get involved. How do I jump in? And within like a week or two, I had hundreds of people saying, come to this thing, come to that. I mean, everyone says it's hard to move to Sweden. And I blinked and had hundreds of friends. And I was like, wow, okay, then it's really not hard. You just jumped right in.
Yeah.
And Ole was really great. And he introduced me to a lot of kind of like the core burners. I don't know what you
Yeah.
want to call it. Like the people doing stuff.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I
the
understand.
movers and shakers and like actually having like lots of organizing things and stuff like that.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that, because I feel like there's like an outer appearance of what burners are, and then there's some sort of inner mechanic of burners, you know?
The inner mechanic is basically people who might appear to other people as hippies, but they're basically weirdos with a kink for overworking and recreational moving. Like, that's about it.
That's
It's
about it.
recreational moving. We like
Right.
moving things back and forth in an obnoxiously complicated way. You're just like, why? Why did we need to bring out this speaker system to the middle of this forest? Like, really? We needed to walk 5 kilometers instead of like a half a kilometer? No.
Yeah, I was one of those.
Yep.
I have carried
Exactly. Like, but
a
why?
speaker 5
Recreational moving. We
Okay.
think it's fun for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with us.
So you've, in this journey, you've kind of ran into some incredible projects. Can you tell us a couple of them? You've been part of the temple in Burning
Yeah, I did the
Man?
temple at Burning Man, Galaxia. That was 2018. That was probably one of the best experiences of my life, I would say. Like, I'm very proud of having been able to be a part of it. I really had followed the Arthur Mamani, the designer. I had followed him for a while because he does the same stuff I do in like real life, like just he does parametric design. And so I had followed him already for that. And then when I realized he was doing the Burning Man temple, I was, oh yes, this is gonna be perfect. So I didn't know him or anyone on the crew, and I kept emailing him and like trying to figure out how to get on the crew because I didn't know how to jump onto a big art project. And then they had a fundraiser in London. I called one of my friends and I said, you want to go to London? So we went to the fundraiser and basically walked up and I was like, hey, Arthur, hi, I've been emailing you. Can you please respond to my email? I'd like to be on this build crew. He's like, oh!
Wow.
So I tell people I got on the project through harassment, which is partially true.
That is incredible.
So
You flew to London just to say hi.
I
and
mean, from
force into
Sweden.
it.
It's not like I flew from the States or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. And what was that like? What happened?
It was wonderful. It was I think it was like 25 different countries of people. Like it was so incredibly diverse, and especially because like with David Best and a lot of the other temple projects, it's usually like this kind of tight-knit community that is the same people every year, and there's not so much like a big changeover. And that was actually, I believe, the first year that it was open to apply. I think before it had always been an internal kind of, you've been tapped, and then put forth some kind of proposal. But that I think was the first open call. But it was really special to have that many people from all over the world, and some very good friends, like for many years.
Wow. And this parametric design you were speaking of, can you give us a little insight about what that is?
It's like nerdy architecture. So it's designing like systems. So it starts off with, if you think of it like a recipe. If you're making a cupcake, you can change. You have all the different parameters of which are ingredients, and you add a little bit more sugar, maybe it becomes fancier, sugary. If you add a little bit more, or if you take away baking powder, maybe it's too flat, but whatever. You change all of these different things, and you can have a lot of different outcomes. And so I design the recipe, which is basically just the relationship between things. So if I want to optimize a building for amount of wood that is being used, or daylight, or whatever you're looking to optimize, like when you're constructing the relationship between all these things, then you can just adjust the parameters based on like what the outcome you would like.
Amazing. And how long did it take for you to build the temple, you and your crew?
Temple was, we actually had hash marks on our arms, like we were keeping score. It was about a month. we went the first day that you're allowed to be on Playa. So, which is, around 3.5 weeks, I think.
So, if not many people watching may not know that at the end of the burn, you burn the temple. What's your relationship to working for a month on something only to kind of like watch it burn?
I've actually had a lot of people ask me that. They're like, isn't that conflicting? Like you want to, but I mean, the purpose of the temple is to be burnt. So that is inherently, it is doing what it's supposed to do. Because if the goal is that if you write something down that you want to let go of on the temple, the whole point is to have it be let go of. So it's, if it were to stay there, I think that would be very tricky. And that was actually something we thought about a lot when we did the Borderland temple, because that was permanent. And we went, okay, if we take away burning, how can we still replicate the letting go of something without necessarily burning it? And so it becomes more of an act of creativity like that.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, the temple is some sort of memoriam of sorts as well.
It's basically a non-denominational, it's not spiritual necessarily. It's just a place for reflection. If you've gone through something and you want to, it can be a memorial. I know I see a lot of like old wedding dresses there that are, I'm finally divorced, or something that some people bring ashes. So it's just if you've gone through something, and it's really powerful when you go, because you realize how much of like collective grief that humanity shares, and then you think about people a little differently. You're a little more empathetic when you meet the next person, because you go like, everyone's going through something. So I think that makes us just like kinder humans, just to have that reality check and remember people are going through stuff.
Yeah, I can only assume that it must have been a very profound experience for you to create a temple for people to do these kinds of ritualistic ceremonies. Do you have a specific relationship to temples, because you built the one in Burning Man and you also built one in Borderland? Is there something that you like about temples, or is it just that it's just the next project?
No, and that also like I that would make sense, because I know some people like Nonstop Simon, for example. He's been working on the Burning Man temple for, I don't know, probably 15 years or something. He's the guy that you call it and you're like, oh yeah, Nonstop. Like, so there are some people definitely that are going to go back. It doesn't even matter what the design is, because they just want to build the temple. Like it doesn't matter what anything about it. So there are those people. I think for me, I did Galaxia specifically because I really wanted to work with Arthur, and it was a parametrically designed temple. So that really resonated with me a lot. When I came back, I really wanted to do a big build, and I was not necessarily keen on doing the temple specifically, but I knew I wanted to build a large structure, and temple seemed like a good use case for it. And also that year we weren't able to burn things because of the super high temperatures. There was just a fire ban. And so there was basically an incentive to design something that would not be burned. So then it was, okay, what can we do?
Yeah, and what did you do?
Build another temple, because I guess I do that. Can't leave me alone too long. I'll just start building temples. No, but it was a proper build. We had a core team of, I think, like 8 people, so it's still quite small. But we built on the weekends here at Blivande, and yeah. It's still in Hedeland. It is actually, if you check Google Maps, it is the highest rated shrine in Denmark.
Wow.
Because someone, aka Hui, posted, he said, oh, I made it a Google Map thing, like you should go review it. So if you're ever having a bad day and need your kind of faith in humanity revitalized, go read the reviews for the temple. It's great.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll put a link on the
Yep.
video. Yeah, get some more viewers.
Yep.
Fantastic. So what's next for you? What's happening now with your build project?
So I'm doing art sleds. So that will be a month in Africa. I usually do Burning Man every other year, like on the even years. So this actually might be the first year I don't go to Burning Man, because when I go for such a long time that it's basically all of my vacation and all of my so it, like I had said before, of the kink of overworking, and it's like, why are you taking your vacation so you can work for 14-hour days and 35 degrees? But I guess that's what I do. But so I'm not sure if I'm going to do Burning Man, but I'm also toying over the idea of putting forward like a effigy bid or something for Borderland. But we will see how much time I have left after Africa, if I've already taken all the vacations.
Do you have a dream build? Do you have, like, I don't know, your magnus opus in your mind? Have you given any thought to
I think it might have been Ice Hotel, actually. That was something
Right.
I was super keen on doing. So.
Can you give us a little bit more insight on the Ice Hotel?
Yeah, so me and my partner Toby, we went. I got it as a present to go as a tourist for my 30th birthday, and we went and just thought, we're wandering around going, we can do this. Like, wait a second. Like, why? Because we were watching they have an info video called Dancers in the Dark, and it's this woman talking about, it's a bunch of artists from all over the world who come together for a short period of time to build this temporary art in extreme conditions. And we're like, wait a second. I know people who do that. And so I was like, Toby, we need to do this. So then, yeah, we applied for many years in a row and kept not getting it. And I called the creative director and I was like, all right, so I need to know what I'm doing wrong, because I'm going to just tell me what you want. I'll do it. Like, I will do this. And I was very adamant to Toby that I was like, I will do this before I die. So we're just going to keep applying every year until we get it. And like, eventually Luca's going to select us just because he'll be like, go away. Like, I'm tired. So
It's like a war of attrition.
Exactly. It's just like, oh my God,
application.
leave me alone. Like, fine, just give them a room so they'll like shush. And then when we were on vacation last summer, and Luca texted me and he goes, by the way, are you available? And I was like, what? Because we had already gotten the no.
Right.
And so they had gone through the old proposals, because there's a part of the Ice Hotel that's 365, and it's year round. So it's basically in a ginormous freezer. And so they were redoing one of those, and those are by invitation only instead of the ones that melt every year, because they stay up for maybe 3 years or something. And then they change it out just when it's more convenient, as opposed to, oh, it melted, we have to build another one.
Wow.
And so Luca was like, hey, we went through all the old applications and we want you to do that. Are you available? And we're like, please, let me just cover the phone. Yep. And I was like, ah! And then I'm like, yes, I will be happy to be doing that. Yes.
Amazing.
So.
Wow. Okay. That's so cool.
So there it is.
Magnum opus.
It'll be there for probably 3 years or 2 or 3 years. So
Wow.
it depends on like how well it ages. Like if stuff breaks a lot or something like that, then they eventually swap it out. But our room is really heavy use on ice instead of snow, and so the ice lasts longer. So that's one of the reasons why they had selected it. So.
Yeah, let's talk about your personal relationship to the burner scene, as they say. What made you realize that this was where you belong, or this is where you thrive?
Well, I mean, I really enjoyed my first experience at Burning Man. I definitely had missed it in the time between I didn't go to another burn for about 2 years just because I didn't have access to one, really. There wasn't really any in Germany. And so when I came to Sweden and started hanging out with burners, where it transitioned from a week-long event where you get to do like, oh, I can experiment with all these things, to this is just now my friend group and my lifestyle. So it's not, I don't radically change myself for 1 week out of the year. I just now live with a bunch of burners and always have that. And it's like I think it kind of changes how people treat each other, how you think of how you relate to each other, how you have much more open friendships and deeper friendships. Like if you have but all the principles of Burning Man kind of bleed into your daily life. If I have a party, I always end up with like a cleaner house than when I started because, leave no trace. And so it's
Right.
things like that where I really like having that bleed into my life.
What's one of your favorite principles, or what's a principle that you kind of relate to the most in your daily life, in your burner life?
I don't know that I don't think I have a favorite, but I think my favorite thing about it is that there's inherently contradictory. I think that's quite nice. So you can have civic responsibility, but you can also have radical self-reliance. So or things like that where everything's open to interpretation because it is, it's not a rule, it's not a commandment, it's just a guiding principle. And life is complicated. It's not black or white. So for things to have not a strong dichotomy, I think it's interesting. So.
Okay, and what would you say are some of the primary differences between your experience as an American burner and as a Nordic burner?
I've only been to Burning Man in the States. I noticed when I was in Michigan, I knew a lot of burners, so I hadn't been to a burn necessarily. But I think the Michigan burners were very hippie. There was a lot of like hula hooping and floating around, and I like.
Not that we don't have that here.
We definitely have that. But there wasn't as much like action and doing things, which frustrated me because I am much more of like the doer. And of course, like, yeah, you have Tantra hippies like everywhere. Like it's not like a Michigan thing or something. But I really liked moving to Stockholm because there's I think the tech world is really strong here. And because of that, I think it changes the type of hippies that are here.
How so?
It feels a bit more like doer hippies. I mean, stuff like Livanda would not be possible without people taking this insane initiative. That's really unique. That's not really, I mean, I know they have a burner house in London, or did. I don't even know if it made it past COVID. But there's not very many places that have this strong of a community. I mean, and to have bought our own land, all of these things it's very unique. So I've never, when I had traveled around, I've been to, 30 different countries or something. And when I was traveling, I never really found a place that felt super like home, that clicked, where I went, I love this city. And then when I moved to Stockholm, it was immediately like that.
Excuse me.
That's you.
Excuse me.
But it was really wonderful to go, this is what I found my people kind of thing. So, and that's why it's always odd when people say, it must be hard to move to Sweden. I'm like, no, it was very easy. I wrote a book to stay in Sweden. Yes.
I can also relate to this. I'm also an American that came to Sweden. And my sense of community is more or less the primary reason why I stayed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love this reflection about like, when I'm in my community here in Sweden, it's not like I'm a burner 1 week out of the year. It's like, I'm a burner year round. And then I get to spend a week where all of my community comes together to kind of celebrate in this kind of concentrated energy event. But more or less, it's kind of bled into my day to day.
Well, and also because I'm a regional contact for Burning Man, like I'm inherently, it is my job to actually organize burn events throughout the year. So whether it's something little like a burning pub, just having those little check-ins like that, it doesn't, you don't have to go for a week camping and build something and put on all the glitter and do all the stuff. You can just go have a beer, and it doesn't, so you can have like a wide range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about Burning Pub.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of friends hanging out and having a beer. That's
Fantastic. It doesn't have to be more than that.
As it sounds. It is at the same place. It is at the same time. It is just like, it's, because the whole point is, a lot of times you want to hang out with burners, and sometimes there's, I think, a little bit of a pressure to go, oh, I have to go get out my tutu and go put on my weirdest, glitteriest something. And you're like, sometimes I just want to be in jeans and a t-shirt and have a beer.
Right, right. Yeah, maybe you can like shout out, give a shout out to all the non-sparkle pony burners that actually do things and make things happen. Yeah.
Well, actually, one of my favorites was when I was at Burning Man last time, 2022. I was hanging out with it was these two guys who had been going for like 15 and 20 years or something, ridiculous like that, and they were both like complete darkwad, no blinky light, jeans and a t-shirt, and a rental bike. The rental bike was not decorated in any way. They were like, I could not even be bothered. They're like, we're here to build things. Like, I don't want the sparkles. I don't want the Instagram outfits.
Yeah.
So I think, and I've noticed that this is actually my 10th year anniversary. So I've noticed I've also become a lot more like, when it comes to the radical self-expression. I'm like, I've expressed myself, it's fine.
Right, yeah. Radical self-expression doesn't necessarily mean a fancy outfit.
Yeah. Well, someone had asked, they said, someone was posting on Facebook, they were looking for, where do you buy your burner outfits or something, like looking for inspiration. I think they were very new and had maybe either never been or were going once. And of course, it was all these suggestions for weird, funky outfits, and I had said, I was like, oh, my favorite is like Biltema because I have my work pants and they're from Biltema, so I was like, that's where I get my work clothes or my build clothes.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So I mean, it's funny, but it's true.
Yeah, it's true. All burner events, there's these unspoken, real, true, complete heroes that bring it to life, and it's not glamorous. It's not I mean, it is. It's
people put a lot of work into it.
There's so much work that goes into a burn, and it's incredible that it's volunteered time and effort and energy and gifting.
I think of it kind of like if your grandma is cooking Thanksgiving dinner, she would never do it for the money. Like if you paid her, it would be weird. It would be unappreciative. But otherwise, if you're slaving away for a week of cooking all this food because you're doing it as a gift for someone else.
Right.
And so I think it's the same when we were building Galaxia. I mean, we were working 14 hours a day, and it was really harsh conditions just because, Burning Man is not the Maldives. No. And so I don't think that they would have been able, if they paid us, they wouldn't have been able to get that motivation. Because the thing is, it becomes much more about sharing, like you want to feel ownership over it.
Right.
And I think that's really important because when you're building, if you treat it like that's something that's I've learned as a build lead, if you treat it like you're a boss or something and they're your employees, they will show up and do the very bare minimum because it's as if you're getting paid to do something. But if you share the collective want and desire and get them to take ownership, then they go, I want to show up because I believe in this and I want to make this happen. So Galaxia, when we were building on, I think we didn't open until Wednesday or something. It was very, very late. And there wasn't a soul on the crew who jumped off because, Burning Man was happening around us for 3 days and no one, it would have been very easy to be like, oh, dragons, oh, look, bye, and never come back. And no one did that because they all were like, I believe in this and I want to see it happen. So I think that's a very powerful tool to kind of rally around and unite people.
It kind of brings me back to this paradox feeling. Like, how can you have so much ownership of something and also just give it away?
Yep.
You know, how can you build something with all your energy and might, and the sole purpose of it is for people to watch it burn?
I don't know. I always had a hard time. I feel the opposite. When for Borderland Temple not burning it, the fact that it's still there is kind of annoying to me. I'm like, because I don't have the ego that I want it to be the temple. I'm actually really glad we never went back to the same location, because if that's the temple every year, there's no space for other people to say, I want to build a temple.
Right.
So then it's claiming dibs, I guess, of, well, that's the temple for Borderland. Like, I don't necessarily want it to be the temple always. It's just was the temple that year. So
what are your thoughts about, you know, now that we have land here in Sweden, there's this idea of building semi-permanent structures, or, you know, what are your thoughts on this?
So I'm actually part of the committee for that. It's called Fund 33, and we are earmarking 33% of all of the membership, or not of the membership, but the Dream Grant budget for art will be for building either bigger, more complex, and or permanent-ish art. Because something I noticed a lot with when we were building Temple is that it was very hard to get the amount of funding, because it ended up being about 150,000 Danish crowns. And if you're doing it through the traditional Dreams funding, like Kickstarter version burner thing, then it's hard to get that much money. So when we did Temple, that was actually the first round, I think, of Fund 33 before it was called that. It was that was called No More Tea Houses, like N.O. And it stood for something ridiculous. I can't remember. But that was
or
setting.
Won't say.
It was something very convoluted. Someone made it work.
Yes.
But that was the first rendition of earmarking money for either permanent or larger art. And then this year, Fund 33 is the next version. And because it's really about, we don't have, or I think it's very special that we have the Dream funding platform. Like at Burning Man, if you get money, you're basically only going to get like a third of the money to build stuff. You have to do a lot of Kickstarter, a lot of fundraising. It's very hard, because also you take on the self-risk on your credit card. So as an artist, that it can put you in a vulnerable place. But so because we have the Dream platform, now transitioning into, we have our own land, we can actually start building up and thinking bigger. And Hampus, who's one of the people who started Fund 33, he's really good at having this broader vision. I mean, he's, you know, one of the main people starting the node and the burner community here. It's probably one of the main reasons Believe Unto exists. But he's very good at having that wider picture of, where are we going to be in 5 or 10 years? How can we zoom out and go, let's set up things now for how we can grow later.
Yeah. We're in a very unique position, I think, because now that we own the land, we can have really long-term visions.
Yep.
And we have so much land.
Yep.
There's so much room for growth.
Exactly.
It feels like this is just the beginning.
Well, and I also think it's important to support more complex and large-scale art, not just for the wow factor. I mean, of course, if you go to Burning Man, you end up with these like mega builds that are $750,000 or something. Like, it's not the goal to do something like that necessarily. It's more about, I think a lot of times you can, if you're not paying attention, you can end up doing a lot of tents or a lot of kind of small scale one-off things that don't get reused. And it's the idea is more about really investing and having something that is more meaningful. So. And
sustainable. I think in the Nordics there's a huge angle of prototyping sustainability infrastructure that's happening within our community, and just in a global trend as well. You know,
I'll be very surprised if we keep burning things, because I mean at this point you can't really burn stuff anyways in Sweden because of all the fire bans, because it's too hot. But then there's also, I think, the burner sustainability thing. So. We'll see.
I feel like there's a real strong culture of prototyping, innovating, trying new things, doing new things. And we're just in the beginning of an era of radical, sustainable innovation.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I think it's very exciting. Yes. I like to ask some of the same questions that I started at the beginning of the interview. Maybe I'll ask you, why do you like building shit? You know?
Who does it? Like, why not?
Everybody does. Not everybody's into radical self-abuse.
Radical building. Creative compulsive disorder.
Creative compulsive disorder.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an
perfect.
affliction.
It's an affliction. It's a beautiful affliction. That's very welcome.
Exactly.
That manifests beautiful things.
I mean, I'm an architect. It's like, it's really, I enjoy being able to design something and actually create it. A lot of people have asked me, they're like, oh, how did you get so good at, doing these drawings or, figuring out how to build stuff? I'm like, I was trained to do it. Like, I do this in life. This is because there's a lot of builders who, or a lot of burners who will want to build something and they've never done it before because maybe they're a developer or something like that. They don't know anything about all those tools. So I feel privileged in that I already have a cheat code that I do know how to do all this stuff. So.
Right. And maybe you can send a message out there to a new burner or somebody out there who looks at you, who watches this interview and goes, oh my goodness, she is like everything I want to be. She's like my hero. Do you have any words for that person who's just starting to just kind of get involved?
I mean, I think everyone is there. Anyone who's good at anything once sucked at something. Like, you're not born and suddenly good at something. And I remember right before I went to my first burn, I watched Spark, which was like this Burning Man movie that came out in like 2012 or something. And there's this interview of a woman who's building, I don't even remember, she's welding something big. And she said basically she went to her first burn and she came away going, I need to learn how to weld. And now she's this very well-known metal artist who, so like everyone starts off not knowing stuff and you go and then you learn it. So, and that's, I mean, when we did Borderland Temple, that was, I think, pretty helpful because almost all the people who were on the build crew didn't have any experience. So they got experience in building. Like you don't have to, maybe it's easier for project leads to be someone who's built before, but I mean, if you haven't built and just jump on a project, there's always people who need stuff. It's the same as like me going and doing art sleds. I don't need to have skills. I can just go and be a set of hands. So.
Well, wise words. Thank you.
The last question maybe we want. How it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's move forward. Let's hypothetically, theoretically move 5-10 years into the future. And Borderland is whatever we dream that it has the potential to be.
Change the world.
Change the world. How do you see that affecting society as a whole?
I mean, we'll have to see. I think burners in general are very kind and very empathetic and take care of each other. I think there's a strong sense of community. If you go back I think it's easy to forget how much we as humanity need community, because you used to have stuff like churches or places where you gathered. I think having a space, like a third space that is not your home and is not your work. What is your third space? And if it's not church or something like that, I think the importance of third spaces is going to become a lot more apparent. And so places like Blivanda, whether it is a burner, it doesn't necessarily even need to be burns or burn related. It's just having a third space where people can connect, because of course, as time goes on and we have way more TikTok and internet and all of everything, we're such a increasingly divided and not connected society. So you need to, I think, burns, to answer your question, I think burns and burner communities will be most important in those third spaces of how do you foster connection and how do you provide a space like that where people can do that.
Burns or just the community oftentimes can be a platform for radical change. Sometimes that radical change can be interpersonal. Sometimes it can be relationships. Sometimes it's actually just like something that happens to you, you know. And there may be some challenges in that. And I know that you went through a challenge not so long ago. Would you like to share that with us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So about, I don't know, maybe it was 2 years ago, I found out that I had a gene. It's called PALB2, which is basically like the lesser known version of BRCA, which is essentially if you will probably get breast cancer by the time you're like 40. So it's a very, very strong indicator. It's the same thing, like Angelina Jolie had the similar thing.
Okay.
So I did a preventative double mastectomy. And so that it was 3 different surgeries over the course of about a year. So as of New Year's, like most recently, now I have the stamp of approval, you're done, you don't need to come back. So
Wow.
go away.
Congratulations.
Because I was starting to live at Karolinska for a bit.
Yeah.
Luckily, I live 10 minutes away, so it's not a long commute because I was there all the time. Like, I'm really sick of going to doctor's appointments. But I
Right.
always had the free court, which was nice.
No, right. There's this pattern of like being consistently at some place to
Yes.
get the attention
I'm the
that you
frequent
need.
flyer. But it was actually from like a builder perspective, it was interesting to go through because I am usually the person who is building things and organizing things and the giver. And so it was very interesting as a process to learn you have to figure out how to rely on people. And there was 6 weeks where I couldn't lift my arms above like my elbows. Like I couldn't do a lot of stuff. So suddenly I had to, call in a lot of favors. And it was also odd. I missed a lot of burns, and the burns that I was able to go to, I wasn't really able to build a lot. So it became me reflecting on, if I'm not building, who am I? Am I valid? Am I still allowed to be here? Which
Don't
I mean,
ask me.
like it's a little funny, but it's also like it was really hard because I was like, I really, I haven't ever been confronted with this before. So because I'm always doing something. And so to go to a burn and not go super early and not have this huge ambitious project, it was interesting. But it was also really lovely as a reminder that when you put good out in the world, like it does circle back. And I had a lot of really wonderful support from my friends and even people that I didn't really know, but just had heard about it. So it was really nice to feel that community.
Yeah, sometimes, for the doers, when you think about community, it's like, it's a place for me to kind of like put that energy in and make meaning of my own life,
Yep.
But we rarely tell ourselves it's okay to receive and to be held in the community as well.
It's a good lesson. It sucks to learn. It's not easy, but it needed to be learned. So.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for people who have oriented in doing, and that's not everyone.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, we're breathing. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that feels like.
Anything else you want to talk about? Like, I mean, really, anything you want to kind of dive a little bit deeper into? I'm happy to kind of.
Anything you're like passionate for?
Yeah, anything
right
you're
now,
passionate for or something.
I mean, I guess I'm curious where Freedom's Torrent will go.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we can like add this in. So where exactly are we sitting? Where are we right now? And how are you related to this space?
We're in Freedom's Torrent. It is a container village next to Blivanda. And so it's kind of when all of our creative ideas didn't fit in Blivanda. This is the spilled out. So we're like, can we have...
I like how the spill out is twice as large as
I mean, I'm not the only creative compulsive person around. So, but I mean, the idea is that everything's modular because this space may not exist for more than a couple years. We have the ability to pick up the containers and move them somewhere else. So it's about how can we build something in the uncertainty of being able to have a spot. Because I know like our last node space that we had to, when it was getting demolished, suddenly we had to go, where can we go now? And all the things that we've been building and working towards, can we keep them? How do we preserve that when we move different places? So I have my partner has his workshop here. I have my office, which is currently under construction. We have a bakery. We have all kinds of stuff going on here, and it's actually quite vibrant in the summer. I'm looking forward to the new season.
Cool. What's your favorite part about this container village?
I think it's about, I really like the random people that come by and they go, what the hell is this? And they look and they're like, I really like it. I don't know what it is, but I like it. And so it's nice to have that. It's a bit more of like a public face of burners because we actually have more engagement with the community instead of just being, it's the bunch of hippies in the desert, running around naked or something. It's you can actually engage in a city context. It's kind of the same as when we had Urban Burn. It's getting more of that engagement instead of someone, if they're interested in burner things, they don't have to fly to Nevada to go do it. They can just come to an event here, and it's a much lower threshold, I think.
Right.
And then when you meet burners, you don't go like, there are naked hippies there, but there's also a lot of other things.
Right.
Because I describe Burning Man as they're like, what is that? And I always say, if you can think of it, it's there.
Yeah.
So, because some people say it's a festival. Yeah, sure, it's a festival. They're like, is it just a bunch of sound camps? Yeah, that's there. Is it a bunch of naked hippies? That's there. But if you want to be a very clothed not hippie, that's also there. It's just, if you can think of it, it's there.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things that you just can't think of that are also there.
Exactly. And you're like,
There are things that are there that are beyond the scope of my personal imagination.
Yep. But someone's thought of it.
But it was definitely
but it was there.
In someone else's scope of imagination.
Yep. So, but I think that's the wonderful thing about it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Borderland is, I think the official motto is the realm between dreams and reality.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is kind of an iteration of that ethos.
Yep.
Yeah. Like a little break in the normality.
Yep.
Get a peek.
The glitch in the Matrix.
Yes. Fantastic. Okay.
Thank you for this time. You've been listening to Burner Profiles, an interview podcast about the Nordic Burning Man community. We really hope you liked the episode. Like and subscribe if you do.